Well, hey, Ecclesia family, welcome back. And welcome to the next session as we explore what it means to live out the rhythms of Ecclesia. In this conversation, you're going to get to drop in on a conversation around what does it mean to seek beauty. I think at its core, seek beauty is really a practice of gratitude. It's the process and the step to slow down enough to recognize that God has made a good world and that there's so much beauty. And yes, there's pain and there's so much hurt. There's so many things that are wrong with the world. And at the same time, coffee tastes really good. And there's so many things that are to be enjoyed. My hope and prayer is that you hear some things in the conversation and in dialogue with others through this that allow you to slow down and to take in all of the beauty that is so readily around us. And I'm so grateful that you get to hear a really great conversation around that. And I hope you're blessed by it as much as I was to hear and learn from other people in the conversation. All right, so we're back and talking more about the rhythms. Thanks for being here. Want to continue and this time jump into a rhythm we have that's called Seek Beauty. Curious for whoever wants to jump in when we talk about this idea of, hey, take time and actually seek beauty. What does that mean for you?
I remember being quite young, like I was 12 or 13 when we came back to Houston. And one of the first things that I noticed was the kind of presence of art and creativity. And thinking like in my little 13-year-old brain that was kind of just an aesthetic preference and that people here were just kind of weird. And going through high school and my theology teachers talking about kind of God creating people as co-sustainers and co-creators of beauty. And that really striking me as part of our kind of ethic of seeking beauty is that it's not, I mean, it's about the art and the music and the natural worlds, kind of that the world isn't random, right? The world is as God created it, and kind of God as creator and artist and architect. But that it's also about this kind of participation in beauty, saying, I'm going to choose to see the world in this way, to look for things that are really exemplary, that kind of exhibit kind of the goodness of God to us, and that in the places where we see kind of the wonder of creation or of creativity, that we're seeing beauty, but we're also seeing a reflection of the Creator.
So I think that beauty, or this idea of seeking beauty, is a challenging one for me. And I think some of it has to do with how much emphasis our culture places on beauty that is actually false.
Yeah.
So this idea that like for example, we're filming this the week of Hurricane Beryl. And so of course I got up early this morning to make sure that I had time to wash and blow dry my hair, and our power went out. Oh. Right. So, so this is what my hair looks like air dried. Like that should not be a big deal. But like in our culture, I feel a little bit less when don't get to do all of these beautification things that I feel like are expected. And I feel like that's my experience kind of as a middle-aged woman. I feel like for every gender generation, there is something about something you're supposed to do to alter yourself or adjust yourself to make yourself more presentable or more beautiful. And so seeking beauty has in some ways meant this seeking falsehoods in some ways. So I guess I like the idea that this is an emphasis, because really seeking like what really is beauty, because beauty is in authenticity.
Yes.
It's in knowing and loving anyway. It's in small moments of life, like the small moments you have with your children or with your aging parents, or with a friendship that has surprised you. Maybe it is like, you go to a new coffee shop and it's like a little bit better than the last cup you had, or like, but it's all these little things. It's, kindnesses you experience in your workplace that you weren't expecting. It's seeing art that maybe you've looked at 100 times and you never really liked it. And then you look at it the 101st time and you see something there that just captivates you. It's remembering to look at the sunset,
yes,
which in Texas is often beautiful, but it happens every day. And so we forget that this amazing moment, that we can appreciate creation. So, and that's real.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, so I think it's a great practice. I do think that sometimes it requires us to slow down. And we're not good at that.
Yeah.
And so kind of moving away from this idea of what do we have to add or how do we have to change things to make them beautiful, and appreciating how we are created as being beautiful.
Yeah. I love that distinction too between, like, this isn't seeking falsehood. This is actually seeking truth. Yeah. And so often it's not that someone else needs to change to be more beautiful. It's actually something needs to change in me to find the beauty in what God has done and made. Maybe, like, to keep us rolling, like, what are some practical things that you do to slow down or to intentionally seek beauty? Whether it's going for a walk or going to an art gallery or going to a great restaurant, what are the things you do that help you slow down enough to actually seek beauty?
Well, I'm kind of a pessimist, so it's like this is a really important one for me to see Jesus and to see good. And it takes effort, like, for me to sit in it. So some of the contemplative stuff, like, my draw towards that comes from that, like, kind of disposition of it. I need to sit down and, like, breathe in the good, or breathe in, like, the presence of God is so refreshing to me. So just to sit and experience that. Then also, like, I love walking and I love squirrels. I find squirrels the most, like, cute, exciting, goofy, like, little creatures. And they're very spunky too. I think I want to be like them in some ways. Like, I don't know what it is, but I have an attachment to squirrels, and so, or birds too. And so, taking moments to, like, daily with my dog, like, just look at the squirrel. Like, if I see one passing by, which they're everywhere, like, I always stop and just, like, look in the tree and, like, laugh or whatever. And I think kind of what you said in the beginning, like, somebody said there's no random things or there's no boring things in the world that God created. Like, there's no boring people. Like, stories are where I find a lot of beauty, and just hearing all the complexities about the human experience, and every person is interesting. Books, like, these are the things, whatever is exciting or, like, brings up some hope in me, like, I try to push towards that, because, like I said, I'm a pessimist, so it's like I need to push towards those things. And as we were talking, it made me think of when Paul writes to the Philippians, he says, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. So it requires a choice. And that's kind of what I mean is, like, I really have learned that I have to do this. Like, I have to choose joy, or have to choose beauty, or have to choose gratitude. And it brings a real significant change, like, even just in your inner person and, like, how you treat people. And so
maybe one last question then. Is there anything that being a part of Ecclesia, just being in the community, has helped you with this idea of seeking beauty, or inspired you to do that?
I think that one of the helps for me is to ask people their perspective on something. I mean, just to be very, like, literal, like, even if it's a piece of artwork and maybe I don't particularly care for it, or I don't like the color palette, or whatever, it just doesn't attract to my eye. Asking someone else who really likes it, like, tell me what you like about this. Like, tell me what you see. Because I do think that that's one way when we are not maybe seeing the good, right? Or where we're struggling, having someone else speak into that, and to kind of, it's a way that God reveals God's self to us through each other. Mm-hmm. And so I think, again, being in a community where we have a lot of differences and where we do come from different backgrounds and we have different cultures represented, having someone who isn't like me say, hey, this is why I like this experience, or this is why I like this art, or this is why I like to go do this activity, then I do see the beauty in it often when someone else tells me what they see, and I just didn't know to see it that way.
Well, I feel like this has been a really great, helpful conversation. I've learned some things and have some takeaways for what it means to seek beauty. So thanks for leaning in. Thanks for sharing so vulnerably, and looking forward to the other conversations on the other rhythms. What a great conversation. And I'm struck by a few things right off the top. One, I really resonated with what Rochelle was talking about, that seeking beauty isn't seeking falsehood, it's actually seeking truth. And I hope that actually gives us a sense of freedom to lean into the fact that God has made each of us and our bodies are good. And I really appreciated too Riley's vulnerability to say, like, hey, I'm a bit of a pessimist, so this one's really important for me. And I have a feeling that she's not alone. There's so many of us in the world that it's easy to see what's wrong. But for us to be a people to intentionally say, there's still good, I know it's there, and I'm going to pursue it. And so my hope is that the conversations that come, the dialogue around the table, and in the coming weeks, that you have a chance to really turn that just ever so slightly to where even if you have one moment out of the day where you're able to pause and recognize one moment of beauty, I think that'll make your world and this whole world a better place. So again, thanks for being on the journey, Ecclesia.